Welcome to Common Ground Discourse, everyone. We are your hosts. My name is Shane Swor.
God's peace. I am Brother Kenneth. Shane and I are picking up our conversation from our last episode about whether or not you should go to college. Big question. Everybody's got to face it at some point. And we come from unique perspectives. I myself have a bachelor's and a master's degree from the University of Georgia and Emory, respectively. I also teach high school. So I'm dealing with students who have to deal with this question on a regular basis. Shane, your background.
Yeah, so I didn't go to college. Right out of high school, I think I wanted to be a game designer and looked at the tuition for the Art Institute. And I said, hell no. And immediately got obsessed with tea, and I worked with Teavana, and that kind of launched my career from there. I was with Teavana for 7 years, and through just being fascinated with how business worked. And I think I was fortunate enough because that company really helped you get really interested on how business is structured, just even at a store level, which is where I started as a salesperson. But from there, I was just passionate, and I grew myself into the corporation eventually, and then found myself building departments, and that launched my career just through experience. But I did not go to college. I never went to college, but I did take one online course with Perimeter, but I don't even count that as going to college. I
Probably not.
would have been better off just reading a textbook on my own, which I've done. But anyway, yeah. So that's my background that I'm bringing here. So
what we'd like to discuss from these respective backgrounds in this episode, and we mentioned it briefly in our last, is the fiscal feasibility, if you will, if I may use the alliteration, or the return on investment that comes from college now. And I had mentioned in the last episode that I went to college, and I have to agree that I don't necessarily use explicitly. Mm-hmm. I could not do so casually today. I couldn't just go get a degree and then gradually pay off the student debt, because graduating in 2003 compared to graduating now, the cost of tuition has skyrocketed. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure many of our listeners and viewers, they have seen this meme running around on Facebook of the exponential growth, or the tracked growth of particular goods. And technology has gone down, food has gone up, but at the same rate of inflation. But then way at the top of the graph, the thing that has shot up the most is college tuition and medical and health care. Mm-hmm. So for all of these parents that keep saying, I had a summer job and that paid my way through college, there was no way I could have done that. And now I got through because of Hope. Hope can't even cover all of a Georgia University's tuition anymore. It's just a fraction of it.
I think a summer job for a high school student now can probably afford them to change a flat tire.
Yeah.
It won't put you through college.
Save up and you'll have enough ramen to get through your 4 years. I mean, it's really so. And this is my gruff with college right now, because I'm an advocate for college education. Mm-hmm. The ability to be in that situation, that setting, surrounded by academics who are directing you and helping you, allowing you to delve into what interests you, mm-hmm. to give you focused concentration of growth on the areas that you want. It's a phenomenal model. But the colleges that we have, private certainly, but now more and more public, it looks like it's a business. And it doesn't look like a business, it is a business. This is how they stay afloat. When you have administrators and you have presidents that are making well above six figures in what they have, while the college tenured professors are making substantially less, and now they're relying more and more on associates because they don't have to give them health care and they only have to piece together enough hours to be part-time. Mm-hmm. It clearly is a corporate model. Yeah. And it's about the business. And the problem is with any capitalist business that's there to make money, they will take as much money as they can for as little return from their customers, because that's profit. Mm-hmm. And I've seen this with our students, because I have students working, as I do in a public school, who come to me with varying degrees of grade level mastery. Yeah. I have students that range from, while I teach 10th and 11th grade, I have students that range from a 4th grade reading level to high school. And what I find difficult is where teachers have passed them on, where we've seen grade inflation to support numbers for graduation. And we give these students A's and B's, or even C's. And the idea that you're passing tells the student, you have what it takes to do this. That's what a grade's supposed to mean. Mm-hmm. So the student has the confidence, well, they said I have a B in English, that must mean I can do English. And he goes to college only to find out that that inflated grade means nothing. And when you get to college, you're then forced into a remediation class. And Brother Francis in our order teaches at a local public university here, and he actually teaches these remediation classes. So he knows firsthand that the students come to the remediation class, the college is happy to accept their application, happy to accept their money, which the student had to get through a loan. Mm-hmm. And yet the remediation classes they're taking don't even count towards the degree. You have to go through these remedial hoops before you're even allowed to start on the classes that will count towards the degree that you're paying for.
Right.
And only if you pass these classes. So a lot of these students who have been pushed on and given the impression, sure, you can do this. Now they're at college, find out they can't. The college doesn't have the heart to tell them, actually, no, they lied to you. You shouldn't be here because you just don't have the skills yet. So we're going to give you this remedial course. They can't pass the remedial course. So now they drop out of college along with tens of thousands of dollars of debt for absolutely nothing.
Right. Well, yeah, that almost sparks me to get into the conversation about how our high school is structured, which I'm sure you and I could debate ad nauseum of the things we would love to
Listeners,
improve
that
on.
will be a later episode.
Yes. Yeah. No, I would love to get into that because I think that's kind of the heart of where a lot of our problems lie. It's not just college.
Sure. I mean, it's a feeder system. So if we're following tracking education, you've got to go back to the high school and even elementary level. Yeah. What are we doing with education?
Yeah.
But as we said, another episode.
Yeah. So let's get into a point that you brought up, this return on investment for your education. I think it's very wise to look into what you're going to be paying for college, and I think that college systems should be really honest and provide up front. Look, this is the average income of a skilled worker in your field. This is how long it's probably going to take. This is how much interest you're probably going to accrue. Do you really want to take that? Because I think it's honest to present that up front. But again, you probably won't have that with for-profit structures. They want you just to feel excited and quickly give them your money.
Right.
Would that be something that you would change? Is it worth really? Oh, well, I know this is just kind of play talk here at the moment. Just saying, oh, should we educate the students on what they're really getting themselves into? This might be something just for the listeners who are students to really research and dig into, not even just the average, dig into what the lowest income is for the profession you're getting into, stack that up against what you're going to be paying for your tuition for the chosen college, and ask yourself, is this really something that I see myself going through? This is going to add a ton of stress throughout your life in doing that. And then with like 90%, and this isn't just a random percentage, probably 90% of the people I talk to always tell me they use their college degree for nothing.
Right.
You know,
my mother was an art history major. Yeah. She worked in banking.
There you go.
Again, she has absolutely, and she has said many times, absolutely no use for that degree.
Yeah.
And she was very successful working in corporate banking. Yeah. Going up through that.
So it seems to me, the ROI for college in itself, with professions that require a degree, it seems that the pay for those individuals isn't worth it. I mean, I hate to say it that way. Mm. You go to college to be a teacher, and you have, it's more than just repeating information. You have to know how to handle a group of people. You have to know how to effectively teach them. At some points, I'm here I am telling the teacher what he has to do. You have to be somewhat of a therapist at times, at a very small scale, right? You have to have good personal skills.
No, a lot of times, actually.
Yeah, okay. Sometimes you have to be a referee, right? Yes. So that's a whole new level, right? Yes. And I don't want to get into that personal conversation with you, but on a broad scale, is the general pay for teachers really stacking up to the tuition that they have to pay for in college and the daily work that they have to do? But again, this is a a vocation that requires that kind of education.
Yeah, I mean, you absolutely have to have the degree to get into it. You have to have the teaching certificate for it. Or that is to say, you have to have a degree. Because I went into teaching not through an education degree, but bivocational. So I went through the alternative certification, but you still have to have a college degree at that level. And there are some states that pay their teachers so little that it absolutely does not match. The amount that you would have to pay for a degree and certification does not balance how poorly teachers are paid.
Yeah.
And I think there are other areas, we could certainly find other professions that a degree is required.
Yeah. But
because it has become such a standard, and it is the benchmark that the employer has set, then if you're going to do it, they can pay you as little as you want, because every other person who's going to be applying is going to meet that standard as well. And they tend to abuse that work that we have put into it. To go to school, get the degree, do the certification, all the hours, and the money that we invested, are we getting the return? When, on the other hand, you have other professions that train their employees in-house and then pay them well because they have made them their own. If you look at municipal companies, water municipal companies working for the county and the city, if you look at utilities working with gas companies, phone companies, we have representatives from these businesses and these entities come to our school every year and talk to our 11th graders who are considering their jobs. And it always blows me away when the guy from the telephone company tells me, yeah, as soon as you graduate, we're going to train you for a year, and we're going to have you up a pole, and then you're making $60,000. It's like, well, that's better than I was doing when I started teaching. Right. And you don't have the student debt that's racking you. That's good job.
Right, yeah. Well, as a final thought, since we're talking about ROI and what opportunities lie before those who don't go to college and those who do, I'll leave it with this, and then you can offer some final thoughts. I think a lot of people are quick to look at the examples of highly successful people that did not go to college, and they draw on that to say, well, if they can do it, that correlates to me being able to do it. But we have to really understand two parts here. That's not the normal result. It really isn't. And part two is, do you operate like that successful individual? And you have to be really honest with yourself. Are you, I mean, not saying that Mark didn't go to school, but are you a Mark Zuckerberg? Right. Can you perform at that? Are you a Gary Vaynerchuk? Can you perform at that level? And I really want to make a distinction here, because I feel like I've been very anti-college. And I might still be anti-college. I am not anti-education. Right. And it's important to distinguish the two. I will be a lifelong learner, always. And I'll say this too. I have a close friend, one of my best friends. He did not go to college, but he gets AWS certifications, a new one, every single year. Huh. And this individual makes 4 to 5 times what I do. Yeah. Insanely well off. So you should always try to educate yourself, either through certifications or whatever, that matches the skills that are valued in this era. But it doesn't necessarily mean that going to college will benefit you. You will have to pay for your education at some point, but it won't have to be to the depths that college is. What are your final thoughts on the ROI of college?
The more I look at it, if you get a degree that is necessary for your profession, then you just have to balance out, what have I invested in this degree? How much will I get in my salary, which should be fairly predictable? And not only am I going to be able to pay back my loans, but am I going to enjoy this job so much that I will appreciate paying back my student loans for so long? Mm-hmm. It may be a slim margin of return, but as I said in the last episode, you've got to follow your bliss. If it's what gives you life, then that's it. But in most of my experience, those at the college level, those at college age, don't know what that is yet. I didn't figure that out till much later. And if you're going to plunk down that much money, you really need to be certain what you're going to do. If not, I hate to say it because I'm an educator, but at this point, I don't see a major return on the investment for going to college with the majority of your liberal arts degrees.
Here's my thing. What an impossible demand it is to make of an 18-year-old what they want to do for the rest of their lives. Mm. When, look, I'm 29. I still don't feel like my life has even started yet.
Right.
And a lot of the people that I have as mentors or look up to, they talk about their entrepreneurial career, and most of them say life starts at 30. Mm-hmm. How can we demand that somebody know what they want to do at the age of 18 when they haven't even stepped out of their parents' house to experience life? So I'll leave it at that.
We hope you've enjoyed what you've heard and engaging in our conversations here on Common Ground Discourse. If you liked what you heard, please subscribe to us on YouTube.
You can also find us on Facebook under the same name, Common Ground Discourse. Please follow us on there, as we will be posting updates and other areas where you can find our content. Thank you.
God's peace.